Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm back. And I'm going to do this more in such a way of talking about these articles and browsing through them as I go. Kind of rapid fire. But first and foremost, I want to wish everyone happy 4th of July weekend. Um, Very much appreciative of you taking the time to watch this short little video. When I say short, I mean this may be one of the shortest episodes we've got because I'm not gonna go through all of this. It's just gonna be a brief rundown, and you're free to look it up as you will. My plan is to briefly go in to the different things. This has actually been covered on multiple gaming websites. Routers, The Verge, Game Informer, and the Financial Times. PlayStation is now going all digital. Now let's take a look at the Financial Times because we're gonna go through this from a unbiased source, sort of, not necessarily a gaming aspect. This is a well, the heck with that. We'll stick with the routers because I think they're trustworthy. So Routers says July 1st. This was yesterday. This is a brand new thing, okay? Sony said on Wednesday it will stop producing physical discs for all new games released on PlayStation consoles from January 2028, marking a full shift into digital distribution as a customer purchases continue to move online. Apparently, digital downloads count for about 80%. Where full game software sales in fiscal 2025, according to the company, reflecting a years-long shift towards digital purchases. The Japanese entertainment and technology company said that PlayStation titles released from January 2028 will be sold through the PlayStation Store by retailers in gaming formats only and by retailers in digital formats only. The change will not apply to games released or already scheduled for disc release before that date. Stripping discs improves margins but will likely require a greater storage capacity, which also is also increasingly expensive. Oh, increasingly expensive, you say? Didn't I hear about people complaining about the RAM shortage? Didn't I hear them complaining about the RAM shortage? Let's take a look at that. Let's take a look at that. But I'll go ahead and say this as well. I saw another article go across my feed that said they were already removing movies from the digital store. Sony was. This is the same company. Yeah, they were one of the companies actually complaining about RAM prices being too expensive. Yeah, yeah. So this is kind of one of those things that are confusing to me because literally, and I'm doing this from Reuters. I'm doing this from um, The Verge. I'm doing this from, and I'm gonna copy all of the. Um, but yeah, um, I'm actually emailing this stuff to myself right now so I can copy and paste it. So I'm also gonna copy and paste another particular one. This is part of a new segment we're gonna call Gaming Across the Pond. I almost want to play like Rue Britannia or something. Um, so what the Stop Killing Games campaign is, and it's going to be the majority of the um, episode, because I'm going to actually read the official campaign. Right? This is where we go. Publishers are permanently destroying the video games you have paid for. An increasing number of games are sold as goods but designed to be completely unplayable for everyone as soon as support ends. We are demanding legislation to end this practice. We're going to read the frequently asked questions. There are no frequently asked questions. Okay, here's the initiative page. We are a global coalition of gamers, consumer advocates, and developers pushing for the internal legal protections. Video games are increasingly being designed to require central servers to function, even for single player content. When publishers decide to shut those servers down, the games are destroyed entirely. We argue this practice is a violation of consumer rights. Yes, it is. If you purchase a good, it shouldn't self-destruct. We are launching formal petitions, exploring class action lawsuits, and engaging with lawmakers worldwide to end the intentional destruction of our digital media. Physical media too, by the way. Top story, the crew shutdown lawsuit progresses. Our ongoing effort against the arbitrary shutdown of the crew has reached a new milestone in French consumer courts. This could set a precedent for always online titles moving forward. Preservation. Games are art and have grown into a huge influence in our society. Deliberately rendering them unplayable is the destruction of cultural heritage. I wouldn't go that far, but I agree in principle with their point. When you buy a copy of, and this is under consumer rights, when you buy a copy of a game, you should own it. It shouldn't come with an artificial expiration date decided by corporate profit margins. Legal action are efforts to go beyond complaining. Our efforts go beyond complaining. We are organizing legal challenges in the EU, US, and more regions to enforce existing laws. So I will be sharing that with you guys here in a little bit. But, you know, this is just a 12-minute episode at the moment. But it brings up these two things bring up an issue. And I said it before and I'll say it again. We are talking about a broader issue than just gaming. And it's been going on for a long time. Longer than we care to admit. Because I'm going to be honest with you. It is an issue that I hold near and dear to my heart. Right now, I have a Google Pixel. Okay? That Google Pixel, and I'm going to go ahead and email these to myself because these are the two that I used. These are the two that are important, and these are the two that I will upload. It was a little bit shorter, but I have a Google Pixel right now that I'm emailing this email to myself from. And it currently has a white line down the center of it. It is currently on 39%, not bad percentage for the day. But the reason it's got a white line is these technological things, they're not made to last anymore. And here's what really gets me mad is they get mad at us because we say, oh, we want to buy all these new things, and they think we don't care about the climate. We do. We care. We really do. But if we're going to get into the technical side of things, right? You don't really care about the climate either, because if you did, guess what? You would care about it enough to actually make these products last to begin with. For example, okay, a simple ceiling fan. It ought to be real easy to repair ceiling fans, but they make the hardware a lot of times specialized to that ceiling fan, right? So when certain bits of hardware goes bad, what do you have to do? You either have to find somebody who specializes in that hardware, which means going a long way, or sending it a long way. And waiting for months and months, or sometimes half a year, to get your stuff back. And risking the possibility that it might not work anyway. I have a story based on that. I used to have a HP printer, right? And this printer was a SmartTank, I believe. I have about decided that I'm going to use a different brand of printer. If you guys have any idea what type of printer I should use, please let me know in the comments down below. Because every HP that I've tried to use so far has been a pain in the butt. And if it's going to be a pain in the butt, I don't want it. I want to be able to use something that I can use quickly. So please let me know what printer I should be using down below. If you can recommend anything. But you know, I had the same printer repaired like 3 to 5 times trying to get it to work. I sent it off at least 2 or 3 times, and I couldn't get it to work with reliability. The one that I have right now, it claims to be working, but it won't print. I think it's because it's older, and a lot of times they want you to buy a newer printer. But the issue I have with the newer printer stuff is, at least with HP, they want you to pay for their services and their subscriptions and stuff. And if you don't want to pay for it, they'll shut your printer off. Literally, there's been reports of people having their printer shut off because they're not paying for the SmartTank subscription model. And this subscription model, it's pretty expensive, and it just gives you the same problems that you've been having, only on steroids. Instead of replacing the printer like they should, they just send you a new one every month, and you're basically paying to rent the printer. That's pretty much what they're doing. You can go and look this up. It's actually a thing. But you know, this is ownership rights, right? This is ownership rights. It's kind of apropos that we're actually getting this close to the 4th of July, and I'm talking about this because I can now bring up our founders, our forefathers, stood on this ground and fought a war partially over a 10% tax. I actually, you know what? I think it may have been less than that. Hang on. No, it was it doesn't give us a percentage. It gives us a number. It was like a 3 pence per pound tax on the British tea. So it was so much per pound on the, is why the part of the reason the Revolutionary War started. Now there was more that added to it, but that's part of it. Now if the founders were alive today and were walking around and were seeing how much we were paying in taxes, they probably would have been like, Yeah, we done messed up. We didn't teach them enough. They're a bunch of wussies here in the future. They need to be starting a rebellion because the amount of money they're paying to their own government and it's not even doing them any good. They don't own half of the things they think they own, and they pay for all kinds of different subscriptions that they're not actually owning it. They're renting it and it's streaming into their house. It's cool technology and stuff. In fact, it almost gave me a heart attack, but it really isn't owning, and they're just dealing with it, and half of them can't afford their own homes because inflation's so high. I don't know why inflation's so high. We might want to look into that, if the founding fathers came through today, they'd have a whole lot to say. And some people would be like, hold up, the founding fathers owned slaves. Okay, let's not get into that argument today. This is more about gaming and ownership rights right now. We'll stick to that subject. And
Excuse me, do you work here? Yes, ma'am, I do.
I don't know exactly what to do about this whole thing because I really can't. How do I put this? I can't do this whole thing over and over and over again. I will say I have currently canceled a couple of subscriptions, things that I don't use. One was one that I forgot that I had, but I remembered that I had it, and I canceled it because I'm like, I haven't used this at all. And the other one was Pandora because I have enough music now that I can actually use what I have. Now I'm about to turn right around and subscribe to possibly YouTube Premium because when I play videos for you guys, this is part of the reason that I'm not actually playing the videos and looking through things today. It's kind of a hassle because ads randomly play. Now, if you can do without it, you can do without it. And that's up to you. So, but it's gonna save me still about like $3 a month, I think. May save me too. No, it'll save me about. Let me double check and make sure I got that right. Yeah, that's right. It's gonna save me about $7 each month just to switch from the setup that I was using to YouTube Premium instead of both, and it has the added benefit of no ads on YouTube. So hopefully, that will serve me well in the future, and I can start making some more money because less people will be turned off by all the ads that'll be playing in my background. By the way, I'm not a proponent of completely going ad free. That is completely up to you guys. Ooh, my foot's asleep right now. But, like I said, I've had problems with streaming services in the past. Movies, specifically, and TV shows and things, all of this has given me problems in the past with streaming services and whatnot. Number one, you never really get what you pay for. They're constantly removing stuff. Like I mentioned Sony, but also Netflix, Amazon Prime. Both of these have been guilty of removing movies that you've paid for. I will tell you one story. I bought a digital copy of, and I know I bought it, of Young Frankenstein because it's one of my favorite movies. One of my absolute favorite movies of all time. Gene Wilder was a mad genius. May he rest in peace. And one day I went to watch it for Halloween because it was Halloween, and that is my favorite Halloween movie to watch, as well as one of my favorite movies just in general of all time. And it was not in my library. I went looking, and there was no record of me having bought it. But I know I purchased it because I was excited to find out that it was for sale. Well, it wasn't even on the Amazon store, and I guess I must have had a brain freeze when it came to the digital receipt. So that's another thing. guys, if you're gonna do digital purchases, save your receipt because you don't know when they're gonna remove it and remove all evidence that you purchased it. There ought to be a. People say there ought to be a record of that. I agree, there should be. But that's not what we're talking about now. We're talking about what is. And what is currently there's a lot of things going on with digital purchases that I'm not the biggest fan of. And I'm also not the biggest fan of tech companies controlling everything. So, this is just something I heard about word of mouth. And basically, Microsoft, this is one of the reasons I keep hearing stories how I will never go back to Microsoft ever again. And I'm very glad I switched to Linux, even though it was completely by accident. Microsoft upgraded your audio, right? The thing about it is, the way they upgraded your audio is they had AI listening to your audio that you spoke, confirming what you spoke, and taking the words that you spoke and giving it to a text document. They converted it into text, and they decided to actually send that text to all of these companies so that they had your data. This is another way they're selling off your data. I'm half tempted, if there was not things like Linux out there and other party apps that are so protective of your data, I would just literally go and shut the computer off and throw it outside and beat it with a baseball bat. Because that's not right. That's not ethical. And it seems like these companies have forgotten their ethics. I'm going to end with the story. Gaming across the pond. I think I mentioned it briefly, but I'm going to repeat it. So the way it's working, right? Stop Killing Games. It's a European customer rights campaign funded by content creator Ross Scott, right? It advocates for legislation requiring publishers to leave video games in a functional, playable state when they discontinue central server support, preventing digital purchases from being rendered permanently unplayable. Here's why that matters. Again, if you're buying something and it's rendered unplayable, do you know what that is? It's a brick. It is a brick. And basically worth absolutely nothing. Basically, you paid a bunch of money for a brick. That would be like, okay, I actually don't know if they do this or not. But that would be like buying a smartphone and it turning into an absolute paperweight after so many years. They may actually do this. I don't know. A major roadblock for the initiative is existing copyright and licensing law. The European Commission formally concluded it cannot legally mandate that companies maintain games or leave them functional after their commercial life cycle, citing the fundamental balance between consumer protection and publisher business freedoms. Okay. Here's the deal, though. Here's where they're wrong about that. Okay? Regulatory rejection. Basically, here's the big deal with that. Okay? You're basically saying that someone can take a game and copyright it, right? And they can actually use that game in perpetuity to make money until they get tired of it. Then they can leave it on the ground and let it rot. And if somebody picks it up and starts playing with the code and starts building something with it, that, oh, guess what? You have no right to it because that's not yours. It's ours. We built it. Well, you were done playing with it. You know, that's like, okay, that's like the babies. Babies, what do? They get a new toy. They stop playing with the old one. And some other baby comes along and starts playing with the old one, and they cry and they say, "That's mine! That's mine! Stop playing with it! That's mine! It's my favorite toy!" Guess what? You can't act like that as full-blown adults. If somebody starts playing with one of your toys, you have the option of, okay, we're gonna update this, or we're gonna let it go. You can't do both. You either have to let it go and free the code so that other people can use it, other people can play with it. See, this would not be much of a problem if after it was done, they gave it to the community and said, okay, we're no longer rolling out updates for this. Here you go. Go nuts and actually build something with it. This is what we have. This is the code. This is everything else. But if they did that, guess what would happen? There would be a bigger open market. Because somebody would take the code and they would say, okay, this is the community's now. Hey, I can take this and do this with it. Here's a whole new game. And it's better or just as good. I'm going to sell it and make a bunch of money. But no, they don't want to do that. They want to hoard all the material for themselves. And I never really understood this. This is why I am very much for consumer rights. I really think that once you buy something, some measure of it ought to be yours. If you want to have protections that say, okay, this is yours, we're doing this special permissions thing because we're done with it, it cannot be altered or that violates the permissions that we gave you, but here's what you can do with it, here's what you can't, and go nuts. That's perfectly acceptable too. I really think that is where we need to go with consumer rights. And with that, I am going to end this episode because I've pretty much exhausted these topics. And yeah, let me know what you guys think down below. Am I tripping? Am I absolutely tripping? Am I actually crazy about this sort of thing? Do you think it's fair to have a company able to be over their stuff in perpetuity even though they're not going to use it? Why? Explain why. If a company is not going to use that material and it's just going to go to waste and it's a it's something that the customers have bought. Why should they just get to say, nope, you can't play it anymore? I don't get that. But if you have a good argument for it, please let me know. And as always, I'll see you in the next one. And happy 4th. This will be uploaded on the 3rd. There'll be one particular cover tomorrow. And I think in the cover I said that there was a second cover premiering on Sunday. But there's no second cover on Sunday. There is gameplay video that I uploaded. And I kind of went crazy with it. So have a good night. This will be premiering 7 o'clock on Friday. I think by 7 o'clock I will be out of town. So I am going to I think to make it interesting this weekend, I'm going to delete after I start to leave the house the app for my YouTube channel, so I can't actually see it. And I will re-download it when I return. I think that will be the best way to go about it. And hopefully I can see you guys in the next video. Hopefully that will be Monday. But if not, it'll be Tuesday, probably. I'll be trying to bring my Linux book, and I will be watching all kinds of videos and taking all kinds of notes, so that I can upload the next episode of Noob's Guide to Linux for you guys. I think that will be the next one that I do. This will be specifically on wildcards. And so yeah, have a good rest of your night and a great weekend. I'll see you next week. Bye.